I have the pleasure of introducing Michael Charest. He began his career managing hotels and country clubs in no less Fargo, North Dakota, folks, and became a coach in 1998. In 2000, he partnered with ICF founder Thomas Leonard and embarked on the Coach U Millennium Tour, where they met thousands of coaches. Most were struggling to build their businesses, so Michael founded Coach and Grow Rich, and later Business Growth Solutions to help coaches and other solopreneurs with sales and marketing. He has helped over 2,000 clients and spoken to 45 ICF chapters. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Michael Charest.
Wow, how nice. Thank you so much. This looks like a good group. So let me just say, for those of you not on camera, if you can come on camera and would like to engage, I'd love it. Want this to be very interactive. If you can't, or even if you are, and it's not noisy where you are, feel free to come off mute to the extent you only feel comfortable responding or, playing around in the chat. That's fine. Jimmy will help me pay attention there because I get in the world of being with you and I'm not necessarily reading. But don't hesitate to play along with me. Be as verbal as you possibly can. I want this to be very collaborative and very much together. So the presentation today is it's on growing your business using the core competencies as a model or a framework, if you will, for marketing and sales, two different things, which we'll get into. The way this came about is I've, like Jimmy said, I've done dozens and dozens of talks to ICF chapters, and we know how important the ICF core competencies are. And as we know, they're written to help you be a great coach and help you adhere to the standards and practices of the ICF. And I'm always reading them and studying them. And I thought, my golly, why not tie these to sales and marketing? For the most part, let me ask you this question. How many of you love sales and marketing? And be honest, it's genuinely not a rhetorical question, but being that I can't see most of you, just share either in the chat or verbally if you like it. I see a little bit from Danny, a little bit from Jimmy. So far, I see these. Does anybody love it? Eric as well. So for the most part, neutral. That's about as good as it gets, right? I don't know if any of you have ever listened to any of Dan Pointer's stuff, but on one of his podcasts, I learned that he surveyed 5,000 Americans, and he said, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the word sales? Okay, using sales in particular. And of the 5,000, it was like 4,986 of the words were negative, repeated over and over and over and over again. And the top 5 words were, and I may not get this perfect, but sleazy, manipulative, slimy, dirty, and I think it was one other S word, but it was not a positive one. And I'm like, wow, that is unbelievable. And the more I dove into the core competencies and thought about the complementary consultation, which I call the sales call, I was like, coaches should literally be the best salespeople. Like not only hate it or tolerate it or accept it or do it begrudgingly, but we literally, when I laid out the process of the complementary consultation that I've been teaching for almost 22 years, we're the best people in the world to be great salespeople. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And also marketing. And when we're doing it in an ethical and dignified way, and we're really being of service to people, but we're not also afraid to ask for the business, that's an incredibly potent 1-2 combination. So I'll pause there. Does that make sense where we're headed today? So we'll talk about marketing, we'll talk about sales, we'll talk about specific strategies in each of those, and we'll tie them to specific core competencies. Any questions or comments before we get started and I share my first slide? And we're going to be going back and forth between slides and being together. Questions, comments? Deceptive. Somebody wrote serving. Thank you for that. That's good.
Yeah, that's a nice thing.
Yeah,
I always, I think sales is I'm the one that wrote deceptive, not because I think sales is, but I've seen it. It is. There's no doubt. But I think marketing should be fun and easy. Like that's how we draw people in. That's what coaches should be really good at, is the marketing. The sales part is just, it's hard. I think. I know it's hard to ask for the business. We always hope that they'll say, "Let me go get my checkbook."
Yeah. Right. Like not even how much do you charge? Just here's my credit card, ring it up. So let's dive into that just for a little bit right away. Jimmy kind of teed this up. Let me ask you guys, what is marketing? How do you define marketing? And we're going to have a little fun here. There's really no right or wrong. And
well, I know Eric knows the answer.
Yeah. What is marketing? Eric, anybody?
Well, okay, but I have a very thank you, Jimmy, for teeing that up. I have a very specific definition of that, where marketing is developing a product, or excuse me, identifying a market segment, then developing a product for that market segment, and then advertising that product to that market segment.
I really like that. So identifying a market segment,
Yes.
creating a product for that market segment, and advertising it to that market segment.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, we call it niching, I think, in this business, right?
Yeah. Okay, good. Certainly that is marketing, right? I mean, there's different definitions of marketing, but that certainly is part of marketing. What else, or is a definition of marketing? Would anybody add anything to that or say something different?
Oh, Martha says sharing and bringing awareness to the market. Yep.
Perfect.
Telling a story.
Telling stories. Okay, so I would ask you to think about marketing is everything you said, and nothing is wrong, or it's everything you said is perfect. And consider thinking of marketing as serving your prospects for free. Okay, just consider adopting that. Yeah, Eric's clapping. So marketing is doing things like maybe speaking. Like today, this could be considered marketing. I'm speaking, imparting my knowledge on you guys. Perhaps somebody may step up and be a client, perhaps not. I'm not attached, but my goal is to serve and be of good service. And not only that, but for those of you that like to talk, that may say, let me get on your newsletter so that I can continue to serve you. Some people will step up at a later time and be a client. Most won't, but that's okay when you have the attitude of just serving. If you write a white paper, you're serving. If you go to a networking event and you're literally there and interacting with your target market and looking for ways to serve people in that moment or plant the seed for later. If you write an e-newsletter, if you do a podcast, you're serving, right? And I think that takes the stigma away from marketing. What's sales? What is sales and how is it different than marketing? So Martha wins the prize for right answer. Yeah, Martha does win the prize for right answer. Sharing and bringing awareness to the market. Let's see, Jimmy, since Jimmy
Well, originally she said serving. Oh, but yeah. So
oh, Martha said serving too. So I'm going to ask you, Jimmy, what should we give Martha as a prize? You get to decide. Something from me.
Something from me or from you?
From me. Do I have to wash your car for a week, or I have to give her?
Yeah, you can wash her car for a week. And I don't know if she's interested. Maybe you could let her be on your newsletter. Maybe she could give, I don't know.
A quote.
Think bigger. How about an hour of free business development coaching?
I think that's awesome.
Boom, you got it.
I like that. Thank you.
Not a sales call.
I mean, it was really close with the car washes, but I already have a monthly membership, so
perfect. And plus, I'm in Connecticut, getting down to Florida. That might not work out too great. So
well, free coaching is way better than a car wash.
Awesome. Would anybody like to just share what sales is and how it's distinct from marketing? And why we're going over this, because when we kind of put the two together and get the distinction, it begins to pull out all that negativity out of it, changes your focus, and then you're more open to adapting marketing strategies and actually reaching out and serving people and getting more clients.
I mean, I guess I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I would define the sales as being the specific mechanics of actually closing that deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So, and that's even the pinpoint focus of sales. Sales is that conversation, right? So think about it as you're serving people for free, you're putting yourself out there. When you serve people for free, you also offer people some, and we'll talk about different ways to word it, but you can say, if you enjoyed this, feel free to register. May I offer you a complimentary consultation to see if we might be a fit to continue to work together further. Okay, that conversation is the sales conversation. Okay, and when you offer it in that way, just really matter of fact, and you define what the sales conversation is, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more on the slide. People are very, you begin to build that trust factor and being upfront and open with people, and that obviously ties to the core competencies. I'm going to just share one more quick thing here. What is the purpose of a resume?
To provide a list of qualifications and experience that you bring to the table?
100%, right? Your resume or curriculum vitae, is that how you say that? Is your qualifications. And what other word did you use, Jimmy?
Experience.
Qualifications, your skills. Yep. Tell
I like
people
what
who
Tony and Martha are saying, though. Sell yourself. So there's a sale,
sell
right?
yourself, to market and sell oneself. I would say that's a little bit even more close. I would remember that a market resume is for one reason and it's for one reason only. What is the purpose of a resume? The purpose, not what it is. What is the purpose of it? Why do you say
to get a job?
Say it again, Jimmy.
To open the door to getting a job or a sale?
Perfect. Be even more specific. To opening the door to getting a job. What is the door?
Any barrier.
Okay, so when a company has to gain employment okay, so oh my God, Martha's like the smartest person here. See, look what she has.
Thanks, Martha. I'm just going to go back to mute and let Martha answer everything.
Show up.
I'm just sharing.
It's to get an
others
interview. Think about this, because this is so simple, but just think about it. All those things that we all said is a resume, true. But that's too much. Like, if you think about marketing as all that, it's to tell people who you are and to market and sell oneself and to sell yourself and to share your qualifications and to apply for, it's all that, right? To get the word out there, to build your reputation. It makes it, that's a lot. That's a lot to have to do. There's one purpose and one purpose only for marketing, and that's to get a complimentary consultation, just like a resume is to get an interview. The interview gets you the job, among other things, but that's when you single-mindedly focus on that. And I'm not talking about if you're selling a book, you need to do a complimentary consultation for a $20 book, but I'm talking about for your coaching services. You know, I imagine most people here, their coaching service might be as little as $3,000 or $4,000 for 6 months of coaching, up to 8, 9, 10, 15,000 or more. If somebody walked up to you and said, kind of like we were joking at the beginning of the call, Jimmy, and handed you their credit card, you didn't know them, and said, would you please ring this for $10,000? I'd like you to coach me for the next 5 months. Would you do it? Think about that really. A stranger gives you their credit card and says, I'd like to sign your contract and I'd like you to coach me.
Not without a conversation first.
Absolutely, you would not do it. You would say, whoa, thank you very much, but let's talk. We've got to see if we're a fit, right? Mm-hmm. As good as that sounds, hey, yeah, I want them throwing their credit cards at me. you would do a consultation, right, Jimmy, to see if they're
For
a
sure.
fit, right?
Yep.
And so just think about your marketing, serving people for free, offering the complimentary consultation. And if when you do those correctly, 33-40% or so we found will buy your high ticket item. And you just repeat that process over and over. Questions or comments on that so far? Pretty nifty. If when your goal becomes to secure complimentary, serving people for free and securing complimentary consultations, your business will take a whole new level. The average income for coaches, according to the ICF, is $47,000. I'm going to be blunt. Can you really thrive in Southern Florida on $47,000 a year? I don't think so. We, as coaches, we don't go into coaching for the money, right? Like there's other easier ways to make money. There's ways to make way more money. And let's be real, there's nothing wrong with money. Money's good. It provides you a nice life. It allows you to give back. And we should be and need to be earning more than $47,000 a year. So my goal today is to help teach you strategies. Hopefully we're doing that already to help you get to at least the six-figure amount and potentially more. And by six-figure, I mean $100,000 net, i.e. what you're paying yourself, right? So not 100 grand in revenue, but 100 grand net. If you follow what we're talking about today, you can and you will get there. Okay, so let's talk about the competencies that I think tie to sales and marketing. Just before we dive into sales and marketing, is my screen shared? Yes, it is. Before we dive into these a little more, just share when you see these core competencies, we don't have them all listed here. What do you think how do these tie to either sales or marketing? And give like a specific example.
Before Martha gets in here, I'll just say specifically that establishing and maintaining agreements, that I think serves us very well when it comes time to actually define the terms of to actually lock it up. And you know, we contract with our clients all the time. And so we should be able to contract the relationship, the big relationship as well.
Great. Could you share, Eric, and forgive me, I don't think I'm putting you on the spot here, but I love the way you said we form contracts all the time. How are we forming, quote, contracts with our prospects even before they become a client? That when you're focused on this in the right way, it establishes and maintains agreements. Like what might be an agreement you have with a prospect?
Well, confidentiality. We establish that contract right up front. That we sort of set the stage with a contract that will be, you know, working on a very specific issue that you've brought to the table. We again set the stage via contract that, you know, we are there at the service of the other person, the client.
Phenomenal. And you share that, I would imagine you share that and then adhere to it and live that throughout the consultation, right? Right, Eric?
Correct.
Yeah. So think about those let me remind me, what was the exact one you said? Establishes and maintains agreements. So think about doing that in your marketing and in your sales, okay? So when you're marketing, for example, you could start thinking, one of the agreements I want to have with my prospects, whether it's implied or explicit, is I want to be truthful in all my marketing. I'm not going to use hyperbole, right? When somebody signs up for a consultation, I'm going to articulate for them in a confirmation email exactly what to expect on the consultation and what we're looking to accomplish on that. These are agreements. And of course, they're building trust and safety, which is another core competency as we also a core competency. They all kind of tie together. So where else? Thank you, Eric. Where else are we adhering to some of these in either sales or marketing? What about coaching mindset? Where do you embody a coaching mindset with a prospect? They're not even a client yet. How do you embody a coaching mindset?
Being curious about
Yeah.
the client.
So, and I don't want to assume this, Danny, but given it, well, let me ask you, give an example of the situation you were in with a prospect. Like, so you're being curious during what phase of sales and marketing?
Interacting with them, getting to know them
Give
and
an example.
inviting them to have the consultation.
Okay, perfect. Inviting them to have the consultation. How can you get to know a prospect before you even have the consultation? No secret answer or anything. So you have
Finding out about
prospect.
them.
Yeah, how can you do that?
So it depends on where you're marketing. If it's, in a live situation, if it's in a networking situation, through conversation, asking about them, their life, their work.
Caring about them, being interested in them,
Mhm.
asking questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on social media, even the same thing, because people who will comment on something you've posted, engaging them in a conversation about
Awesome.
how that impacted, how what you
Oh,
put out there impacted them.
great. Okay, excellent. Think about if somebody is on how many of you have an e-newsletter that you send to your list, an e-zine, an e-newsletter of any sort? So Jimmy does. Jimmy, how can you get to know the people on your quote list that you're sending your e-zine to? How can you get to know them better?
Well, if I don't know them beforehand, and I normally do know people before they get on my list because I ask for permission to get on the list. But once they're on the list, or if they come in through some lead generation thing, I'm trying to think of how I would get to know them better through, because it's a one-way push.
Here's what to do. And again, we're kind of tying all this to marketing. And I invite them to a meet and greet with you, right? I invite people to virtual cup of coffees. So just picture this for you. I'm not using this example for me. We've got 10, 12 people on the call today, right? Imagine, I'm not getting to know you all. I don't know that I'll ever talk to Jessica Wong today. Hi, Jessica. I'm using Jessica as an example. So, but imagine Jessica. Hi, Jessica. Imagine tomorrow Jessica gets an email from me. Thank you for attending my talk last night. Hey, I know we didn't get to meet. I see you registered for my e-zine. I'd love to get to know you a little bit. Here's a link to what I call a virtual coffee. Would you like to spend 30 minutes getting to know each other so I know how to serve you best being on my e-zine? Like, isn't that nice, right? Now, am I going to try to sell anything to Jessica on that call? Absolutely not. Just getting to know Jessica better, because that's what I said I wanted to do. So that, see how this is all quote unquote marketing, right? But it's not like direct marketing. I genuinely want to get to know Jessica. So I'm going to do that. Once Jessica and I get to know each other, and again, we're just using Jessica as an example for fun. Does the likelihood that Jessica might hire me as her coach grow a little bit during or after our virtual cup of coffee?
It probably grows significantly.
It could grow significantly, right? Like, now, maybe I'm not her style or et cetera, so maybe it doesn't. But at the very least, two people got together and became closer friends and colleagues than they were before. And maybe I've planted the seed for a client for when and if Jessica needs me. Let me ask you guys, and please be honest, is there anything dirty or sleazy or manipulative about that?
Not if you do it without any intention of trying to coerce somebody or make a sales pitch or anything. I don't think that just having a conversation and getting to learn about somebody is pretty not sleazy.
I would agree. Okay, so I would ask, but I do love what you said, Jimmy. Not if you're not, I should have written down the words you use, but it's kind of like the bait and switch. Not if I'm really doing it to see if I could get her as a client or try to give her a sale. See, even my face is crunching up. Like that sounds gross to me. Okay, go ahead, Danny.
I have a question though. I think
Yes.
that we are all very tuned into the ways that people try to sell us things.
Yes.
And personally, if I was on somebody's email list because I was kind of lurking and just, getting out of it what I want to get out of it, if you were to reach out to me and invite me, I'd be like, oh, what does he want?
Aha. So thank you very much for that honesty, Danny, because I would bet other folks on this call are thinking that too. Okay. So again, I like using real life examples. So Danny, what, if anything, could I say in the invitation so that you're less squeamish? You're asking, what does he want? And or flip it to you. What would you say to somebody that you're inviting to a virtual cup of coffee so they're not feeling, what does he want? Or she want?
If it was me, I would say that that my email community is very important to me, and it's important that I know you, that I know who I'm speaking to. So that's why I would like to just spend a few minutes chatting.
Okay. Putting yourself in that situation, if I said those exact words to you, might you still feel a little bit like, what does he want?
A little bit.
Yes, I agree. And by the way, I don't think we're talking about me personally. You leave it there.
Right.
So here's the little trick, you guys. Say that. You might be thinking to yourself, what does he want? So I just want to tell you, I want nothing other than to get to know you as a person, because my community and serving you on a regular basis is important to me. Now, might that do the trick? And if it doesn't, it's still okay, but might that do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So
If I'm inclined to talk to.
Say it again.
If I was a person who's inclined to have conversations like that.
Yeah, perfect. Assuming all other things are relative.
Yeah.
So I guess my little lesson is this is just a little example of a outreach strategy, which we could put under the marketing umbrella, right? I don't care like what you call these things, but getting to know your people, right? Let's just call them that, is a good thing, right? Like Danny might share with me, one of the things I really struggle with is figuring out my target market. Well, I have a module on target market. I'm going to send it to Danny and say, enjoy this module. I'm not looking for anything in return. I just want to serve you. Or I might write in the next newsletter. I was visiting with one of the people on my list this week, and she was mentioning how hard it is to determine her target market. So I thought I'd share that a 3-step process in today's e-newsletter. Right? Serving, getting to know people. And I'm telling you guys, it'll just naturally happen where some of them will want to hire you, period. You don't even really have to be offering it all that much, reminding people once in a while, hey folks, just as a reminder, click on this link if you ever want to have a complimentary consultation. But none of this, I happen to have my waiting list subsided for a week. And so I happen to have 3 spots available. So jump on them quickly before they go away kind of stuff. That's why selling and marketing has such a sleazy connotation to it. Thoughts, comments on any of this? May I hear, let me redirect and ask for a specific, may I hear 3 people share a comment? Yes, this is resonating with me, or I really like this, or boy, I'm not in an agreement with this. This isn't working for me so far. Anything. Just want to hear from 3 people.
Your last comment resonated with me. I don't know if I would have used the word sleazy, but it feels manipulative. And
Which one feels manipulative, Joyce?
well, I forget what the words were that you just used, but I see people do, or I hear people do things all the time where they'll say one thing, but their behavior is suggesting something else. And so you read between the lines, and what they really wanted was you to come here and buy. There wasn't any service involved in it.
Or what was it, Joyce? Was it the part where Michael was talking about, there's 3 slots available, get on right
That.
away? Yeah,
Right.
so
Oh.
the
It's like
scarcity
create the
marketing.
psychological, scarcity piece,
Yeah,
and or the
And you-
countdowns on email responses you get
Right.
that there's only 2 slots left, that kind of thing.
And what do you think, Joyce? You think, yuck, correct?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So don't do it. That's exactly right. Those examples I was giving was the kind of stuff exactly not to do.
but that
Right.
stuff works. Like when I see a countdown, I'm like, I should really act on this.
Okay. So
Like there's like that. I mean, it works on a number of people,
let me ask you a very
but it doesn't
specific
feel
question.
good when I'm the purveyor of said tactic.
Purveyor, is that the purchaser?
No, I'm the one giving it. If
So-
I put that out there, I'm going to feel a little bit squeamish about it. But I know that psychology works
How do you know?
because it's worked on me.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes,
Has it worked on you? The
100%.
answer is-
Yeah, not 100% of the time, but yes, 100%. It has worked on me before.
Okay, let me ask you, Joyce, has it, quote, worked on you?
Honestly, I think only when I thought I could save money.
Right.
Okay,
Because I wanted what they had, but I didn't want to pay what they were suggesting I needed to pay. But the special offer made it more appealing. So yes, in that case, I have.
perfect. So the reason I wanted to ask both of you, and it sounds like it has worked, quote, first of all, let's address this. Doesn't the fact that we're saying, did it work, implying that it's a kind of a manipulative marketing tactic by asking the question, did it work? Does it work for you, right? That's implying that is the opposite, in my opinion, of what we, quote, generally should be doing, okay? In other words, don't do that. Jimmy brought up a good point, but it works. I know it does. It's worked on me and it's worked on other people. So Jimmy might decide to do it because he knows it works. Hey, I'm gonna put a countdown on this piece. You might say, it makes me a little bit squeamish, but I'm gonna try it. I see other people doing it. Can't hurt to try it, see what happens. Joyce, on the other hand, may decide, I'm not getting near that with a 10-foot pole. That's not for me. Beautiful. One of my favorite sayings in sales and marketing is there's what works and there's what works for you. Okay. Putting a timer saying there's only 2 spots left works. Will it work for you? Only if you're congruent and pure and everything's lined up for you. If you try to do it because others are doing it, it's probably not going to work. And if you don't like doing it, don't do it. Right? What could you do if you wanted to? This is, by the way, I've never had this conversation with anybody, so thank you guys. What could you do if you wanted to do something like a timer or limited spots left, or the deadline is tomorrow night, but you do feel kind of squishy about it? What could you do? Hint, we kind of covered this a little earlier. Yes, Martha.
Well, I would say that it's an inside job, right? And for me, if you're coming from a place of openness and transparency and simply saying, okay, I'm opening up my schedule to take on 5 clients for the next however, and it's true for you, and this is how you choose to operate rather than just taking people on whenever, then I think there's nothing icky about that.
Right.
That's exactly right. especially or in part because it's truthful. So
Right.
if it's truthful, people will feel it differently. Energy is everything than if it's not truthful, right? And the other thing you said is authentic, right? Challenge yourself to be authentic in your marketing, even when it's a stretch. So you could say, and I'm telling you, I've done similar things because it's the truth. Hi, everybody. I'm putting a time limit on this of tomorrow at midnight. Okay. I've seen this work with other people, and I thought I'd give it a shot to get you to act more quickly, as opposed to giving you all the time in the world, which I genuinely don't think is good. It's not good for me, and it's not good for you either, right? Like whatever you're thinking, be honest with people as to why you're doing it, and it will be received way better in a more ethical and dignified way. Good stuff. I don't even know where we were at, so I better get back to this. So the next slide I just want to share is the marketing train. I know this is simplistic, but forgive me here. I like keeping things simple. For those of you that are here now and or watch this later, where, you know, if you're at 30, 40, 50,000, this is very, very applicable to get to say that 6-figure mark. Those of you that are already doing much more, this still applies, even though it's so simple. Okay. So what's the most important part? We're going to go over the 4 parts of a train. What's the most important part to a train and why?
The tracks, the follow-up.
Awesome. Say why, Jimmy.
Because you have to maintain contact. The train has to maintain contact with the customer base or the prospect base. So if you don't, it's going to derail. No matter how much cargo, no matter how much value, no matter how much engine or coal you've got pushing it, if it's not in contact with your customer or your prospect base, then where's it going?
That's awesome, Jimmy. Well worded, and I love asking that question because I learned things. So what a great way to describe the tracks, following up, staying in contact with your prospects and your clients, for that matter. That's awesome. That's truly awesome. And if you don't, you'll go off the rails, and every other part of your chain is obsolete. I see Eric wrote the engine. Eric, why do you think the engine?
Well, before that, I also think the tracks are a nice metaphor for operating with intention and knowing where you're going from A to B. So more kudos to Jimmy. I threw down engine because as of the 3, it just seemed like the easy answer. It does, of the 3 on your little train, because the engine is the thing that, you know, chugs along and pulls everything along. It's initiative.
Perfect. And all 4 parts of the train, the engine, the cars, the caboose, and the tracks are really, they're all the most important. And I'd like us to focus first on the engine. The engine is what drives the train, right? The train does not move without the engine. So the engine represents your active marketing strategies. Okay. The cars represent your more passive marketing strategies. Do cars go anywhere on their own? No. So name a strategy, quote unquote strategy. Name a marketing strategy that is more passive than active. And feel free to share both an active and a passive if that helps think through it a little bit. Like what's an example of an active strategy, and or if you want to share a passive strategy.
So would passive be like, for example, giving a presentation?
I would, well, you tell me, how does that feel more active or passive for you, Eric?
I guess it depends. If it's a large, impersonal, one-way conversation, then maybe that is passive. If it's small and engaging like this, then I guess it could be quite active. I guess it could be both.
See, now that even that's a good way of looking at it. I hadn't heard that before. So what you just brought to my attention that I'd like to share with everybody is really anything can be active or passive depending on how you do it, right? And I hadn't heard that before. I always think of giving a presentation as a very active strategy. And what you said is there are ways to do it where it's more passive, right? And therefore maybe not as effective. But going out there and offering to speak and delivering talks and giving value to people is a phenomenal strategy for coaches. Okay, phenomenal. If you're open to doing it and you like it, and it's very active. Any questions on that, and or who wants to share another active or passive strategy? Yes, Eric.
Well, I would just like to say that, it is in another sense of being passive is that when we're giving a presentation, I know this from giving presentations, you're focused on the presentation, you're focused on communicating what's in the presentation. Nowhere in your mind are you like, I'm mesmerizing these people into like a sales funnel, right? So I think that's kind of cool. If we don't like selling, but we just like actually showing up and giving information, then it can be, it's definitely not selling. We're presenting. So.
I understand Eric's perspective now, because I was like, wait, you're actively presenting, but I see what you mean. It's not an active sale.
Yeah, passively selling, actively being active. Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. I totally understand. I see Jessica wrote social media posts as passive. And interesting, I see, because I was thinking when you asked the question, Michael, the difference between an active and a passive, if we look at a digital perspective. See, to me, social media post would be active in the way of the work that's being done because I have to actively post it. Whereas my website, which just sits there stagnant, like you build it once and you just lay it there. And yeah, you might tweak it now and again, but that's passive and you hope somebody finds it in some way. But all the stuff that leads people to the website or the podcast or whatever the thing is would be active. But I totally understand Jessica's perspective of saying it's passive because I'm just putting it out there. Like I'm just laying pamphlets out. And if someone picks one up, then they pick one up.
You and Jessica just nailed it. That's my opinion as well. So just to summarize, a website is a passive strategy. Now, if you make your website and invest in search engine optimization and you've got a lead magnet on there and you're driving people to the website, now your website is more active, but it's really not even the website. Like Jimmy said, it's what you're doing to get people to the website. I would also agree with Jessica and then Jimmy coming around. Social media is more passive. Can it be active? Sure, it can be, but it's more passive. It's like Jimmy said, it's kind of like putting stuff out there and hoping things stick. And most people, most coaches do not offer anything in their social media. They're building awareness, but they're kind of, and I'm just generalizing because I've coached a lot of clients on this, and I'll say, let me look at your social media. And yeah, I'm doing that. You see them and hi, everybody. And, but they're never like drawing people in to get business from it. And that's part of it. That's important. Again, not only for you, but for them. Is a person who is served. Let's say you're a leadership coach and you do social media posts on leadership. Okay. And you also coach people on leadership. Chances are the people getting your social media posts or the people you're coaching growing more in their leadership ability?
Well, I hope the one getting the active coaching is
I would hope so,
more.
right? So it's silly that I'm asking this, but it's important. So if you're not offering people the opportunity to work with you, who are you hurting?
The prospect.
Them.
And and me too, by not taking in more revenue.
That's right. Like what?
So it's a double lose. So it's a waste of time. Social media is a waste of time if there's no CTA. Call to action.
There you go. That's it. I could have just had Jimmy do this section for crying out loud. It took me too long to get there.
Yeah, me and Martha and Eric and Danny would have all done Joyce.
Yeah, there are other
Jessica for that matter.
Right, like
it's collaborative.
Yeah, if you like doing social media, great. If you like teaching, if you like putting yourself out there, if you like getting clicks, great. If you like building awareness, excellent. But don't wonder why you're not getting clients from it if you're not doing a call to action, inviting people to become clients. Okay, let's see what somebody wrote. Love it. No call to action. Thank you, Martha. Oh, Jimmy, did you steal Martha's idea or did you come up with?
No, what did Martha say?
Martha,
No call to action. No, I didn't. Sorry, Martha. It must have been a subliminal.
Gimme.
It's
See,
our group
Martha's-
intelligence.
Martha's
Wait,
pulling all the
let's do the
strings.
time check. Wait a minute. Who came first? Was it Martha's
It was
or was it
me.
my comment?
It was me.
Are you sure? Because it says
100%.
I'm gonna roll the tape. It says 6:27.
Yep.
I think you're both brilliant and you're both right. So for those of you that like social media and you want to keep doing it, great. I encourage you to just be more active with it. Most coaches do not like social media. I can't tell how many people say to me during or after this presentation, quote, thank you for giving me permission not to do social media. Don't do freaking social media if it's not your thing. Like, just leave it. People had successful coaching businesses before social media was even invented. And coaching hasn't even been around that long. So you don't need social media, especially if your target market is not younger, the younger generations. Most old fogies like me and Jimmy and who else is old?
Yeah, let's just stop right there,
else.
Michael. Don't embarrass
Nobody
us.
else, right? They're not using social media. So unless your market is people who use social media, don't think you need to use it.
That's
All right,
true.
I'm gonna go share.
Well, and that goes back to, go ahead, you can share. I was thinking though,
I don't want to get myself in trouble. Go ahead.
yeah,
Jim.
no, it makes me think, like you were saying, how do we find out more about our audience? Well, we've got to go to the audience. And if we don't serve young people, then maybe social media is not the best place. If we do, then maybe it is. Or which type of social media? Because Instagram is very different. Well, not that different, but a little different from Facebook, which is very different from LinkedIn. So,
Yep.
Yes.
yeah.
Very good.
I would disagree that only young people are on social media.
And thank you, Danny. What you just helped me remember, and I'm so glad you called me out on that. You know, when you're speaking and you kind of make a statement, and then either you realize or somebody calls to mind, yeah, they're like, I did not mean to say only young people use social media. It is what it sounded like I said. And generally speaking, just be looking at your target market and where are they and where do they hang out. And yes, you're 100% right, Danny. So thank you. And by the way, the way I speak, that may happen again. It may have happened already during the call where somebody has said, whoa, just call me out or ask for clarification, because I know what I mean, but sometimes it doesn't come out that way. And that's, you get yourself into trouble. You got to be careful. So thank you.
I just want to, Jessica just posted, the funny thing is, before this call, I got an email from a potential client who never worked with me in the end from 6 years ago. And that was after I posted on LinkedIn today after being absent for 3 years.
Love it. Thank you,
Wow.
Jessica, for sharing that. And my response to that is, forget everything I said. Jessica's right. Social media works. Right. But in all seriousness, like, again, there's what works and there's what works for you. Like that does happen. So way to go, Jessica. Social media can work and it can be an effective strategy, but don't feel compelled to do it because somebody told you you have to, or because somebody else says. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to the train. We're going to finish this up, tie into the strategies, and then get into sales. And I'm just being careful of time, so I'm going to move it a little more quickly. Keep in touch is huge. I think I asked the question before, how many of you, and forgive me, I did another talk earlier today. I've never done 2 talks in one day. But I think I asked you guys how many of you have an e-newsletter. Is that right? And I don't think many of you did. I would encourage you to have one, or do maybe a video newsletter, a vlog, but something to keep in touch with your prospects, your people, and continue to serve them. So I just like a newsletter, e-newsletter. A lot of coaches have said to me, I don't want to do a newsletter. I don't like getting newsletters from other people. I've opened up some people's thinking by just challenging them to say, why don't you like getting newsletters? And then once you identify the reason why you don't like getting them, don't do that. So one of the reasons people don't like newsletters is they're too long. Don't write a newsletter. Every one of my e-zines is 200 words or less. Time how long it takes to read it. I want my readers to be able to read and digest my e-newsletter in less than 2 minutes, okay? I don't like e-zines because they're really just trying to sell something. Don't sell something on your e-zine. I do a e-newsletter every Thursday. I never sell on Thursdays. If I am going to offer sales, you're going to hear it from in another day, not on the newsletter. I might do something, but I'm just using this as an example to not do what you don't like being done to you. That doesn't mean don't do it. That means do it in your way, because keeping in touch with your prospects is huge, and having opportunities continue to serve them. Any questions or comments before we hit follow up? Okay, and then follow up, I'll just say quickly. Oh, did you raise your hand, Eric?
Yes, I do have a question. Michael, very quickly, I mean, I know we're pressed for time. Where do you build your prospects list?
Great question. From more active strategies. So for example, when you speak, you'll offer people to join your newsletter. When you're networking.
All that. Okay.
Yeah. Another big way is, quote, the lead magnet, which is a lot harder than people make it sound, but giving something away for free to get people to exchange their emails.
So, okay. So those kind of, out there kind of prospects. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Follow-up is important because I just did an informal survey of about 30, 40 of my clients a couple of years ago, and really dug deep on following up. And I found that my clients who were diligent about following up on leads closed 37% more business than people that were afraid to follow up because it's salesy, right? I don't want to be a nag. I don't want to bother people. Okay. There's ways to do it so you're not being that at all. And if you don't do it, you're leaving 37% of what you could be doing just by not doing your follow-ups. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Questions or comments on that? Let me actually ask one question just to drive the point home. Is there anybody who's like, let's say somebody scheduled a consultation with you, had to cancel it. You know, I'm sorry, I'll just use Martha as an example. Martha, I got to cancel our consult tomorrow. I found out my mom's coming into town. I have your schedule link. I'll go ahead and reschedule it. Okay. And a week later, that person hasn't rescheduled yet. And you think, I should probably, or I want to follow up with that person. How could you do it in an ethical and dignified way where it takes away any sleaze or manipulation from it?
I mean, I would have followed up right away after receiving that email and saying, no problem. Thank you for letting me know. I'll follow up with you in a week if I don't hear from you. Ah,
perfect. Okay. So you obviously respond to the email and you say, I'll follow up if I don't hear from you. So that's actually an awesome way to do things. Let people know you'll follow up if you don't hear from them. That way it kind of gives you your own self permission to follow up. It's not a surprise when you do it. What if you follow up with her, I'll make her a her, Martha, in 5 days because you haven't heard from her, and then another 5 days goes and she hasn't scheduled a consult? Anybody?
I'll say that.
Eric, let me just ask the general question. Well, no, let me hear from you first. Forgive me. Go ahead. I want to hear what you
Nope,
were
you
going
go.
to say.
I was going to say, I never hesitate to reach out to people. All the time, people come floating up to my brain where it's like, oh, wow, I haven't heard from this person in a while. And I'll send a note. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? What are you up to? There's a lot of people who say that you should find a resource and send it to them. That to me, that feels disingenuous. So I always, personal notes all the time from people that I've left in the dust that I've forgotten about or whatever. So it's not,
Awesome.
it's not organized, but it happens.
So first of all, that's great, because hear what Eric said. People say find a resource to give them. That right there sounds a little more squishy than just being honest and reaching out to them. Like, oh, I want to follow up with Jimmy because he said he wanted to hire me, but he hasn't yet. So what can I send him? I don't want him to know I'm really following up with him about my coaching. So, oh, here's an article. Let me send him this. See how gross that is? How about just saying, hey, Jimmy, in an email, hey, Jimmy, you said you wanted to work together. I haven't heard from you. What happened, bro? Or dude, or buddy, or what? I'm sorry but just be honest and authentic, right? So let me ask you the question very specifically. I'm going to do a consult, cancel, mom came into town, I'll check back. They don't, you follow up a few days later, 5 days more go by, they haven't scheduled yet. Then what? You followed up with them twice now. Is there anybody that would just not follow up again? I mean, be honest. Like,
I would follow up again. I would follow up. I would probably in the initial, hey, good luck with, enjoy your time with your mom. And then after, a couple of weeks or whatever happened and, they're still, then I might, I would follow up within a week the first time. And then after that, I might go a little bit longer. But I would just to make sure, hey, just checking on you. I know we said we were going to follow up. Hope everything's okay with your mom, or you. Let me know when let me know how I can be of service, or what can I do to help or whatever.
Awesome. That's huge. Okay. I'm going to push it one more time. What happens if they don't respond to that? Martha.
Maybe you can ask them, would you like some coaching around your inability to respond?
Yeah,
that's the answer. Problem. That's another free hour of development coaching.
That's damn good. I would find that to be, I think that's a little edgy. And I personally like that, right? Some people may not. So, but I get your point, Martha.
Like say it in a little bit, mess it a little, but I noticed you're not responding. Do you have is it challenging for you to be open and honest? We could have a conversation about that if you would like. In the meantime, I'm just going to put your file to the side and, let me know when you'd like to work with me.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, and by the way, here's a nice newsletter I found from my friend Eric that you could have.
And by the way, my coach told me I should send you some kind of article or something. So here it is. Yeah. So Martha, and I'm asking Martha, but I'm asking everybody, when somebody doesn't respond to you, name 2 reasons why that could be. You, of course, don't know, correct? You do not know why they're not responding. And it could be 500 different reasons, I would imagine. But what are 2 of the main ones? And Martha already kind of said it. But it doesn't even matter that you get the ones that I'm thinking of. But what are 2 of the reasons?
They've got stuff going on.
Yeah, I always chalk it up to life happens.
Life happens, they have stuff going on. Let's just stop there. So consider, I hope you're seeing a theme here, in your email, say, it's not I find that it's not uncommon for people to sometimes not respond because either life happens or I forgot what the other one was. I just want to let you know I'm not attached. I just want, and these are the words I use because they're real to me. You can use them if they work for you, but I'm not using them because they work. They're truly me. I say, I want to be a good steward, but not a pest. So please let me know what, if anything, I should do from here. And it's incredible how most I'd say 90% of the time people will respond. Almost because you're giving them permission not to. And that sounds kind of weird, but people are afraid to say they changed their mind, or they're overwhelmed, or, you know, this happened, or gee whiz, I forgot what we even talked about in our consultation. Give them permission to just let you know. And that often is an awesome way to go. If you're thinking it, say it. Is that cool?
Very.
Martha, thank you again for having all the answers. You rock. Okay, and then we talked about follow-up. I just want to cover the complimentary consultation as the second component of sales and marketing, and then tie these to the core competencies, because I think they're similar but different, a little bit different or nuanced. But one of the reasons I think coaches struggle with the complimentary consultation is you're generally, a lot of coaches are offering free coaching sessions, okay? And that sets it up as something different. So when you do offer a complimentary consultation to your prospects, which I encourage you to do, the more specific you can be in telling them what it is, the better results you'll have. So you'll notice here, a consultation is a mutual interview. That right away lets them know, look, and you can see here, I'm kind of interviewing you. You're interviewing me, getting to experience my coaching to see if you might want to work with me. And I'm doing the same to see if you might be a fit for me. So I'm going to just say it better right now. For those of you that would like to register for a complimentary consultation, here is my schedule link. And let me just share briefly what a consultation is. Essentially, it's a mutual interview, okay? It's an opportunity for you to receive some value, some coaching from me, to get to experience if I might be somebody you might want to hire to help you grow your business. And of course, I'm not attached to that. I invite you to sign up for a consultation and see if we're a fit. And if truth be told, I don't work with just anybody. I only even offer my coaching to those that I really feel comfortable with, that I feel like we'd have a good time, we'd be a good fit, and most importantly, that I'd actually help you grow your business so you get a return on your investment. Okay, are there any questions? So that's an example of how to offer a complimentary consultation, like in a talk like this, but you also do it similarly when it's one-on-one. Comments or questions on how that feels? Hopefully you found that to be authentic and real about letting people know what a consultation is. And that's all derived from truth, not, oh, this is how you get more sales, by telling them this is what it is. Comments or questions on that?
I would just say it's extremely easy to have a consultation to fill 45 minutes or a half hour talking about what coaching is. How can we help you? How does it apply to the situation? Here are the mechanics. How do you like to work? Here's how I like to work. I mean, that 30 minutes goes fast, or can go fast.
It does, doesn't it, Eric? It goes by really fast. One of the ways to position the consultation so that it's going fast and a lot's getting done is you give 3 questions for homework prior to the consultation, okay? And I'm gonna share with you guys what the 3 questions are that I'd advise you to give, and then I'm gonna give them to you in a generic way, and then you would customize them for your coaching. But in particular, you wanna ask the prospects, and I do it via email. Hey, hi, Lily, thank you for registering for a consultation. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on Zoom. Here's the link. To prepare for the consultation, I'd like you to think about these 3 questions. What is it you want? How will you feel when you get it? And how will you feel if you don't? Okay, again, I don't ask it that. I customize it to me. But why am I asking those 3 questions and asking prospects to think about that prior to the consultation? Why those 3 questions? Anybody?
Purpose and consequences.
Say it again, Eric.
I was saying purpose or vision of success, objective and consequences?
Yeah, very good. I mean, heading into a consultation, what more would I want to know, and what would engage us more than having a conversation with them about what they want, to determine if what they want and what you help with as a coach are the same thing. Okay, so if you're a leadership coach, again, you might say not what you want, you might say, what would being a great leader look like for you? Or how would you define success as a leader? Or what are some ways you want to grow in your leadership ability? And then you might word the second question is, imagine a year from now, you're that leader. What impact is that going to have on your department or your business or your life? And secondly, a lot of people never achieve. Let me ask you guys, do a lot of people not achieve their goals?
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
80% don't achieve their goal.
Like 80%. So Jimmy, being that he knows that stat, he could put that in his email. Unfortunately, statistics show that 80% of people do not achieve their goals. If this happens to you, what impact would that have on your life? You see how powerful of a question that is? You're not asking these questions prior to the consultation so that somebody hires you. You're asking them because that is the best value you could possibly give them in the consultation, having a 20-minute conversation just on those 3 questions. That's the value of the consult. Whether they hire you or not, if a prospect has a conversation with you about what I want and what they want is consistent with your coaching, and how much they want it, what it'll be like, what the results and benefits are of achieving that. And conversely, classic like Tony Robbins, pleasure, pain, the pain of not achieving it, then whether they hire you or not, they're that much closer to getting that realized. And frankly, let's be realistic, you're the conduit for that. When you really believe that, you'll say that with confidence, and they'll feel it. And then you're if you want to talk like sales and marketing, conversion percentage goes up. More people will hire you. Questions or comments? And again, if they don't, you've still done them a service. Martha and then Aaron.
So I think that's really an interesting statistic to kind of mention in that email, right, prior to the consultation. And then to kind of bring it back to, let's say they cancel for whatever reason, right, and then they don't follow up. You could go back to that and say, as I mentioned in my earlier email, 80% of people actually don't achieve their goals. And I just want to make sure that you're not standing in your way of achieving the goals that you've set out to achieve.
Phenomenal.
By not prioritizing something that you said yourself is a priority for you.
Phenomenal. Thank you. I'm going to come to you, Eric, in a minute. Martha or anybody, tell us what core competencies that ties to.
Client growth.
Say it again.
It facilitates client growth.
Absolutely. Talk about facilitating client growth, in this case, quote, prospect growth, by asking them a question like that, by sharing that statistic. What else?
Evoking awareness.
Evoking awareness. Absolutely. Most of your prospects probably don't know that, or, maybe I shouldn't say probably don't know. They likely don't know that 80% don't reach their goals, or whatever it is you want to share with them. You know it, second nature to you as a coach. You're in personal development, self-help, but they're not. They might not know this stuff. So by sharing with it is helping evoke awareness. How about maintain presence? Talk about being a bold, confident coach by sharing with them, what might be going on in their brain in a neutral way. So you're not judging them, but you're giving them food for thought. That's pretty awesome, whether a client hires you or not. Go ahead, Eric. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, I love the like really one of my favorite questions, and I love it, is when you know, what will it look like or feel like if you don't achieve whatever? And that you know, eliciting awareness, evoking awareness that way is so incredibly powerful, because people don't usually go that route. It was funny, very, very quickly, I was on a mentorship call with ATD South Florida, Association for Talent Development, and we were talking about what do we do with clients or mentees, in this case, proteges, who are not, they're not holding themselves accountable. And I said, well, what I found works is asking them, what will it look like if you don't achieve this goal that you set?
Perfect.
And all of the other mentors in the room were like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And I'm like, you guys don't know that?
Yeah, right.
Trainers are really different from coaches.
Yep. What better question to ask, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's great, Jimmy, because all the time we say, you know, if a client isn't motivated, go to why. They're probably not clear on the why. Like we
Sure.
say that all the time, you know,
Sure.
but you're absolutely right. This is a different way of, if they're not motivated, maybe they don't have enough awareness around what happens if they don't achieve their goals. So that is a secondary tool that you've just given me for motivating the people I'm working with. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And Danny, I think the statistic, you mean the 80% don't achieve? I don't know that that's actually true, but I know in project management world, they say that 80% of goals in the business sector that are, you know, they either miss on budget, miss on time, miss on scope or something. So 80% are not fully successful. So that's just where I get that from.
Okay.
The number might be higher with individuals.
Yeah. And just obviously, if you're going to quote a statistic, make sure you know where it comes from, and don't feel you need like proper statistics, right? Also, like
Yeah,
nothing
but
wrong
that's
with
a powerful one.
Yeah, you are right.
I mean, if that's true, I would like to be able to quote it and
Yeah.
say where
I
it
bet
comes
if
from.
Well, you guys
Even
stay
just
on and I'll
Google.
Google it real quick.
Okay.
Where that, but I think an even bigger thing about the goals, though, is that I think there's even a larger proportion who don't even have goals. They may have ambitions.
Sure.
They're not even setting the goals. And then of those who are setting goals, then 80% are falling off. Now we're talking some real trauma.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what it says. According to a reliable plant, only 20% of people set goals for themselves, which means that 80% of people don't even set goals. What's even more unfortunate is that out of the 20% of the people who do set goals, only about 30% of people will succeed. So, okay, we're close enough. 70% don't.
So
70%
it's really
of those
only
that set goals.
only so 94% do not achieve their goals. But
Right.
that's because a
Yep.
large set doesn't even set any. So
Yeah, 80% don't set
or
them.
only 6% do achieve.
30% of
6 people.
20% is
Right.
6%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good.
Well,
Wow.
there you go. Now you've got the real science, Danny.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
what
for
was that?
that.
What was that source?
Reliable plant. If you just Google, that's what comes
Yeah.
up. Percentage of people who don't achieve their goals, and that's what comes up.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Of course,
Yeah.
the problem with all of these statistics that we find, these are college students who work for Harvard or go to Harvard and Stanford and all these different schools. So these are 19 and 20-year-old kids that are doing this half-ass research that they put out there as gospel. So
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I tell you what, these kind of stats pass the sniff test with me. I mean, this
I
this
agree,
sounds
I
about
agree.
right, you know.
Yeah, and for most people, it would with them too. And here's the thing: ask them.
Mhm.
Hey, Mr. Prospect, share with me. I don't know that you've actually thought through this, but what percentage of your goals have you attained? And they'll tell you, golly, not many, or you know what, most. Because when I set my mind to something, I do it. Well, that information is phenomenal for you as the coach to go either in multiple directions with you.
I would say also,
either way,
how many
Eric.
armchair? Oh, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Michael's right. Either way, you can go with it. I'm a phenomenal goal achiever. Great. Let's rock on with that. Or no, I don't set goals. Great. Then let's go that direction. Sorry. Back to you, Jim.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, how many armchair quarterbacks have won the Super Bowl? You know why? Because they don't have a coach. They didn't have a coach. They decided against it. So
Yeah.
if you have a coach, you have everybody that's ever won the Super Bowl or whatever sport had a coach all through their life. And
Ooh,
that
I
is
like
a
that.
major component of success.
You are
Absolutely.
right. Nobody has ever won the Super Bowl without a coach.
That's
I
right.
like that.
Oh, that's a great one. I love that quote.
Good quote. Well, I have a question. So
Tony,
I'm
Hi,
here.
Tony.
I have a cold, so I'm sorry. So I come from a marketing background, and if I said, like, I'm not comfortable saying, most of the people, or 20% or 6% of the people that set goals achieve them, but the remaining, they don't achieve their goals. If I said that to any client, they would just say, oh, okay, well, what's the point? I'm not going to market myself. Or if I said that to a coachee, I feel like they would say, well, wow, that's a really gloomy,
Yeah, but
no, I'm not going to do that. So what, like, help me out here. Like I'm burned at
Go
saying,
ahead, Tony. Sorry, let me, go ahead. Forgive me. I heard some.
no, fine. I'm rambling because I haven't talked.
No, you're bringing up a good point. So let us help. What is the question? What would you do if you don't want to, like, quote a statistic like that?
Well, the question is, don't you feel that saying that puts the coachee or the prospective client at a place where then why even try? I mean, I want to be like optimistic. I feel like everybody that sets a goal, you can get there.
Tony, those people that don't get the goal don't have a coach. That's the difference maker.
yeah,
They're
precisely.
the reason. There's a component that is missing from those 94% of people. They don't have a coach.
Got
Yeah.
it. So that's how
Yes, I would agree. And I would just say, just tying to the theme of this presentation for Tony, and thank you, Tony, for just sharing, and anybody else who might be thinking that too, then of course, don't ask that question or don't quote that, right? Because again, there's what works and there's what works for you. Or if you want to, like, qualify it, right? But I just want to close this portion of it by saying, please don't feel like that's an important part of whether somebody becomes a client or not. If you ask the question or quote that statistic in that way, it's not.
got it. Thank you.
Let me just, we're at time here, so let me just say this for everybody real quick. First of all, I'll stay here if anybody wants to keep talking. Number two, if you do want to stay in touch and be on my e-zine that I articulated earlier, please just pop your email in the chat, and you can do that. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of, but if you want to do it privately, feel free to do it private or just pop it in there. And if you would like a complimentary consultation to see if we might be a fit to work together, just put that in the chat too. Hey, Mike, I want to visit with you, or just put consultation and I'll reach out to you. And then I just want to kind of summarize. There's just because this theme seems to be kind of coming up tonight, there's nothing that you need to do. Like, you don't need to do anything, right? Other than, I think, this is my belief, I do think that there are people out in the world. Let's just say there are people in Southern Florida, in the United States, in the world, literally, that need you. Like, I really believe this. Like, there's somebody in, I'll just make up, well, we'll just say Ukraine, just because a couple of Ukrainians are on the call tonight, which again, I think is amazing. But like, let's say Svetlana, there's a woman named Svetlana in the Ukraine who needs Eric. She doesn't know that. Eric doesn't know that, but the universe has put Eric and Svetlana on this path. And it's Eric's responsibility as the coach to do his part to put himself out there. And if he does that, he and Svetlana will connect because God wants them to. I could almost tear up here. So that is the only thing you need to do. You need to do your part to put yourself out there because you've said, I want to be a coach. And that's a big responsibility because you're really going to help people. And you would not have even been given the desire to be a coach if you couldn't also be a good one and you weren't needed. Okay. So you have to do your part. And then when you do, you will be connected in ways that you can't even imagine to the people who need you. And you will help them reach their goals and dreams. And that is a beautiful, magnificent, unbelievable thing. Okay. So I hope something here resonated with you tonight that gets you to do more of that and do it more in an ethical, loving, compassionate, dignified way in service and not be afraid to offer your services. And God bless you all. And thank you very much for being here.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Thank you, Michael. That was such a, wow, what a beautiful ending.